Causes and background. Since the dawn of warfare, armies have relied not only on strength of arms, but on the silent whispers of intelligence. Long before modern technology, spies moved through enemy cities, wearing the faces of merchants, travelers, even diplomats. In ancient China, the strategist Sun Tzu wrote, "Foreknowledge cannot be gotten from ghosts and spirits. It must be obtained from people who know the conditions of the enemy." This principle endured for centuries. From the deserts of the Middle East to the frozen battlefields of Europe, victory often hinged on knowing what the enemy planned before they acted. By the early 20th century, industrialized warfare transformed espionage into a professional craft. Nations established dedicated intelligence agencies staffed with codebreakers, linguists, and field operatives. World War I became the proving ground for this new profession. Britain's Room 40 cracked German naval codes, while French agents intercepted messages that revealed enemy troop movements. The stakes rose even higher during World War II. WWII, spies and double agents operated in every theater of war. Some passed false plans to mislead enemy generals, others smuggled out genuine secrets that altered the course of battles. The motivations behind espionage were as varied as the agents themselves. Some served for patriotism, others for money, revenge, or ideology. In London, the British created the Special Operations Executive, SOE, tasked with setting Europe ablaze through sabotage and subversion. In Germany, the Abwehr and later the SS intelligence units worked to infiltrate Allied plans. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union's GRU and NKVD ran vast spy networks, penetrating even the highest levels of Allied governments. In the Pacific, Japanese intelligence operatives gathered information from Asian ports, while American cryptographers at Pearl Harbor worked day and night to break Japan's naval codes. Some of the most important intelligence never came from the battlefield at all. It came from the quiet observation of supply shipments, troop morale, or political speeches. Secret wartime diaries, discovered decades later, reveal how leaders weighed intelligence reports, sometimes trusting them, other times ignoring them to their cost. As Winston Churchill once said, "In wartime, truth is so precious that she should always be attended by a bodyguard of lies." The story of war spies is not one of open battles, but of hidden eyes, watching from the shadows, shaping the fate of nations, one secret at a time. Intelligence preparations and espionage methods. By the eve of World War II, the art of espionage had become a science. Nations invested heavily in training, equipment, and networks to gather information on their enemies. In Britain, the MI6 and MI5 refined their roles. MI6 handled foreign intelligence, running agents in occupied Europe, while MI5 focused on counter-espionage, rooting out enemy spies at home. Germany's Abwehr, under Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, built a web of operatives across Europe. Some were professionals, others were ordinary citizens, motivated by ideology or the promise of reward. The Soviet Union's NKVD trained deep cover agents known as illegals. They assumed entirely new identities, often living in foreign countries for years before receiving missions. In the United States, the newly formed Office of Strategic Services, OSS, led by William Donovan, created spy schools, where recruits learned lockpicking, sabotage, cryptography, and survival behind enemy lines. Methods were diverse: dead drops, where information was hidden in prearranged locations. Microdots, photographs reduced to the size of a period on a page. Invisible ink, revealed only under heat or special chemicals. Wireless radios became the lifeline of many agents. But they were dangerous. Direction-finding teams could trace a signal's origin within minutes, leading to the capture and often execution of the operator. Some spies specialized in code breaking. At Bletchley Park, Alan Turing and his team worked tirelessly to crack Enigma. In Japan, cryptographers attempted to read American naval ciphers, with varying success. Espionage was not only about technology, it was about human relationships. Technology, it was about human relationships. Agents seduced diplomats, bribed officials, or posed as harmless travelers to gain access to secrets. Forged documents, counterfeit currency, and even disguised weapons were part of the spy's toolkit. Training emphasized quick thinking, the ability to improvise under pressure. But even the best-trained spy faced the constant shadow of betrayal. Double agents could unravel entire networks, and trust was the most valuable and most dangerous currency of all. The first field operations. When war finally erupted, spy networks across the world sprang into action. Some had been in place for years, others were hastily assembled as armies advanced and borders shifted. In Poland, 1939, as German forces invaded, members of the Polish Cipher Bureau evacuated their Enigma-breaking secrets to France, ensuring that their groundbreaking work would aid the Allies. In occupied France, the SOE parachuted agents like Violette Sabo and Noor Inayat Khan behind enemy lines. They carried radios, forged papers, and orders to organize resistance cells. The Germans deployed their own operatives into Britain, hoping to sabotage industry and spread disinformation. Most were captured quickly, turned into double agents under MI5's double-cross system. In North Africa, Allied and Axis spies competed for control of desert supply routes. Figures like Johannes Epler, the so-called Rommel's spy, gathered intelligence on British troop movements, while Dudley Clark in Cairo ran elaborate deception campaigns to mislead Axis commanders. In the Soviet Union, Richard Sorge, a German journalist and Soviet spy, infiltrated the German embassy in Tokyo. His reports warned Moscow of Operation Barbarossa, and later confirmed that Japan would not attack the USSR, allowing Stalin to move divisions west. Covert operations relied on courage, patience, and luck. Agents used coded messages in newspaper ads or met at busy cafes, blending into the crowd. Some missions ended in swift success, others in capture and torture. In Norway, saboteurs destroyed the heavy water plant at Vemork, crippling Germany's atomic ambitions. In Greece, resistance fighters blew up the Gorgopotamos Bridge, disrupting Axis supply lines. Every operation was a gamble. One wrong move, and entire networks could be rolled up. But these early field missions proved the worth of espionage. They shaped battles, months before the armies ever clashed, and reminded generals that wars were fought not only with bullets, but with secrets. Turning points in the spy war. By 1942, espionage was no longer a side act of war. It was a decisive weapon. Key breakthroughs in intelligence shifted the balance on multiple fronts. One of the most significant came in the North Atlantic. The Allies finally broke the latest version of the German Enigma naval code. This allowed convoys to avoid U-boat wolf packs and turned the tide in the Battle of the Atlantic. At Bletchley Park, Alan Turing and Hugh Alexander led the team that built faster decoding machines. Their work saved countless lives, though it remained a closely guarded secret for decades. In the Pacific, the U.S. Navy's Station Hypo, led by Joseph Rochefort, cracked Japanese naval codes. This led directly to the American ambush at Midway, a victory that crippled Japan's carrier force. Double agents also played a decisive role. Britain's Juan Pujol Garcia, codenamed Garbo, fed the Germans a mix of truth and lies, convincing them that the D-Day landings would occur at Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. In the Soviet sphere, Lucy spy ring in Switzerland supplied Moscow with detailed reports of German troop movements, much of it sourced from disgruntled German officers. Technological advances gave spies new tools, miniature cameras disguised as cigarette cases, listening devices hidden in furniture, even exploding coal planted in locomotives to sabotage rail lines. But with every success came a tightening of enemy counterintelligence. In occupied Europe, the Gestapo's Hugo Bleicher methodically hunted down resistance networks. In Japan, the Kempeitai military police rooted out Allied agents with ruthless efficiency. The spy war was a game of constant adaptation. When one side gained an advantage, the other raced to counter it. By late 1943, both Axis and Allied leaders understood intelligence victories could decide battles before the first shot was fired. The final days and the largest spy operations. By late 1944, the spy war had reached its peak. Networks were at their most expansive, operations at their most daring. In France, the liberation brought a surge of activity. Marie-Madeleine Fourcade, leader of the Alliance Network, coordinated hundreds of agents, gathering intelligence on retreating German forces. In Germany itself, resistance groups like the Red Orchestra fed information to both the Soviets and Western allies. These networks operated under constant threat from the Gestapo. Many members paid with their lives. On the Eastern Front, Soviet intelligence orchestrated Operation Bagration Deception, feeding the Germans false information to mask their real offensive plans. This misdirection led to one of the most crushing defeats of the Wehrmacht. In the Pacific, U.S. intelligence planned its final moves carefully. The OSS increased cooperation with Chinese guerrillas, sabotaging Japanese supply lines. Codebreakers intercepted messages revealing Japanese defensive strategies for the Philippines and Okinawa. Some of the most ambitious missions aimed to capture enemy scientists, documents, and technology before they could be destroyed. Operation Alsos sent Allied teams racing into Germany to seize nuclear research facilities and interrogate scientists like Werner Heisenberg. Espionage also became a race for political advantage. As the Allies closed in on Berlin, both Western and Soviet intelligence agencies scrambled to secure high-ranking defectors, men and women whose knowledge could shape the post-war world. Meanwhile, in neutral countries like Switzerland, Sweden, and Spain, espionage hubs thrived until the very end. Spies, diplomats, and double agents met in smoky cafes and quiet hotel rooms, trading secrets for gold, or for promises of safety after the war. By the spring of 1945, the collapse of Nazi Germany and the crumbling of the Japanese Empire made clear that the spy war's largest operations were also its last. But even as the guns fell silent, intelligence services prepared for a new kind of conflict, one fought in the shadows of the Cold War. Strategic and political impact. Espionage during the war was more than a military tool. It was a force that reshaped alliances, dictated strategies, and influenced the political map of the world. Intelligence successes often shortened battles, saving lives and resources. The breaking of Enigma and Japan's Purple Code allowed Allied commanders to anticipate enemy moves, turning potential disasters into decisive victories. Political leaders relied on these insights. Winston Churchill referred to intelligence reports as his golden eggs. Franklin D. Roosevelt demanded daily briefings from the OSS, while Joseph Stalin relied heavily on the GRU's deep penetration of Nazi command. Espionage also played a role in diplomacy. Secret messages between Washington and London discussed post-war plans long before the fighting ended. In Moscow, the Soviets used wartime intelligence to prepare for the division of Germany and their dominance in Eastern Europe. The war also proved that propaganda and espionage were intertwined. False radio broadcasts, forged documents, and staged events could sway public opinion as much as any speech. The political impact was perhaps most visible in the rapid onset of the Cold War. By 1945, former allies had begun spying on each other. The United States sought to uncover Soviet ambitions in Europe, while the USSR expanded its network in the West. The scale of wartime espionage left behind a massive infrastructure, training schools, cryptographic centers, and entire departments, all of which were repurposed for peacetime intelligence, or rather, for a new era of shadow conflict. This transformation blurred the line between wartime and peacetime operations, and ensured that the political influence of wartime spies would shape global relations for decades to come. A story of wartime espionage is one of shadows and silence, of courage unrecognized, and sacrifices never recorded in history books. Many agents did not live to see the victories they helped secure. Some vanished without trace. Others were buried under false names. Their deeds classified for decades, but their impact endured. Every intercepted message, every sabotaged supply line, every carefully planted deception shaped the course of the war. In Britain, veterans of SOE and MI6 continued to serve, carrying their wartime expertise into the Cold War. In the United States, the OSS evolved into the CIA, taking the lessons of World War II into a new age of global espionage. The Soviet Union expanded the KGB, building on the vast networks established during the fight against Nazi Germany. And in Japan, surviving intelligence officers adapted their methods for a rapidly changing political world. Wartime espionage also left a cultural legacy. Books, films, and documentaries celebrated the drama of secret missions, though often they told only fragments of the truth. Declassified files continue to emerge, each new release adding detail to the picture and reminding us that the full history of the spy war is still being written. As Winston Churchill said after the war, "In the whole realm of human achievement, there is nothing that surpasses the silent victories of intelligence." Today, the legacy of these shadow warriors lives on in every intelligence agency around the globe. Their tools have changed, their missions have evolved, but the essence remains: to know what the enemy will do before they do it. And so, we are left with a question. If war is decided not only on the battlefield, but in the minds and secrets of men, how much of our future will be shaped by the unseen hands of spies?